In 1976, the Bad News Bears hit theaters and did something very few kids' sports movies were willing to do. It did not try to turn children into little angels. It did not try to turn the coach into some inspirational mentor. And it certainly did not try to tell the audience that if everyone just tried their best, they would all be rewarded with a trophy, applause, and a neat little lesson about good sportsmanship. Instead, it showed viewers a chaotic youth baseball team full of kids who argued, cursed at each other, played badly, got yelled at by adults, got looked down on, and then slowly became a team in a way that was messy, funny, uncomfortable, and very real. At the center of that team was Coach Morris Buttermaker, a washed-up former ball player who drank more beer than any parent would want to see anywhere near a Little League field. But what made the Bad News Bears last was not just the smart-mouthed dialogue or the ending that broke away from the usual sports movie formula. This film also carried a full-blown war behind the scenes. Real Little League coaches hated it. Parents objected to it. Little League refused to put its name on it. And a lot of adults genuinely believed this movie was going to corrupt children. Today, we are going through the 20 biggest secrets behind the Bad News Bears. Number 1. The kids were cursing without even knowing what they were saying. One of the first shocks in the Bad News Bears is not the fact that the team plays badly. It is the way the kids talk to each other. Today, audiences are used to movies and shows with rough language. But in 1976, watching a group of children on screen swear, insult each other, throw around harsh words, and speak as if no adults were close enough to stop them was something that really stunned a lot of viewers. The funny part is that not every child in the cast fully understood the words they were saying. A lot of the young actors were simply too young to fully grasp the meaning of some of the lines they had been given. Some of them just memorized the dialogue the way they would memorize a reading assignment. Then, when the cameras rolled, they delivered those lines with very natural expressions. And that actually made the movie feel more real, because it did not feel like children playing adults. It felt like children repeating exactly the kind of language they had picked up from the adults around them in real life. But if you think the kids talking that way was enough of a scandal, what made it even more shocking is that the movie still got a PG rating. And that is the detail that really stuns people when they look back on it now. Number 2. The fact that this movie got a PG rating still feels absurd. When people look back at the Bad News Bears today, many of them have the same reaction. How in the world did this movie get rated PG? That is a completely fair question. The movie has all kinds of things that, if they showed up in a modern family movie or a kids' sports movie, would instantly cause a huge backlash. Kids swearing, using slurs, saying things many of them clearly do not even understand, and a coach who is practically drinking beer throughout the entire film. And at the very end, the kids are even celebrating on the field with beer cans in their hands. But there is one very important thing to remember. In 1976, the American rating system did not yet have PG-13. The middle ground of the market was completely different back then. A movie could still be aimed at younger audiences while carrying very rough language and behavior, and it would not automatically be pushed into a more restricted category. That detail is not just interesting from a censorship standpoint. It also shows that the Bad News Bears came out of a very different era in American film. This was a time when Hollywood sometimes allowed movies about children to be messier, harsher, and more honest. The film does not teach the audience how to behave. It throws them straight into that world and lets them react for themselves. Number 3. Little League absolutely hated this movie. When the Bad News Bears came out, not everyone in the world of youth baseball found it funny. Little League as an organization officially wanted nothing to do with the film. It did not allow the movie to use its name or trademark. That is why the film keeps everything legally vague. Audiences clearly understand that this is youth baseball, but there is never any official confirmation tying it directly to the real organization. And the anger did not just come from headquarters. A lot of real-life coaches and parents were furious too. To them, the movie was not satire. It was an attack on the image they wanted to protect. Children playing sports for teamwork, parents cheering respectfully, coaches setting a good example. The bad news. Bears blows that entire picture apart. But if real audiences were angry because they recognized themselves on screen, the roots of the story were even more personal than that. Because the writer was not imagining some ugly version of childhood. He was rewriting his own. Number 4. The screenwriter wrote the film out of his own bitter childhood. The Bad News Bears does not feel like research into youth baseball. It feels like it was written out of a wound that never fully healed, and that is exactly what happened. Bill Lancaster did not sit down to write some uplifting story about kids overcoming the odds. He wrote from his own experience with Little League, with pressure, with feeling like an outsider, and with the kind of adults who are always ready to turn a child's game into a private war of their own. Lancaster had polio as a child. One of his legs was shorter than the other. He played baseball while living in a body that did not look or move like the other kids. That left a very clear mark on the way he wrote these characters. Amanda Wurlitzer, the girl seen as different but still the strongest pitcher on the field, was shaped in part by that feeling. Not in a physical sense, but in an emotional one. Someone who is very good, yet always viewed as not fully belonging. That is why the Bad News Bears never pretends that children's sports are simple and innocent. The film understands embarrassment. It understands being left out. It understands what it feels like when adults place burdens on children that do not belong on their shoulders in the first place. Number 5. Buttermaker was not entirely fictional. If Morris Buttermaker feels too specific, too alive, too accurate as a worn-out man full of bitterness and too tired to pretend he wants to please anyone, that is not an accident. Bill Lancaster was the son of Burt Lancaster, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Burt Lancaster was famous, charismatic, athletic, and larger than life on screen. But in real life, he was also a strong-willed man, highly competitive and demanding with his children. So when Bill wrote a man with an athletic past, a lingering sense of failure, and a habit of treating the world with annoyance and disappointment, he did not have to look very far for inspiration. The interesting thing is that Buttermaker is not written as a direct copy of anyone. He is written as a man so real that audiences believe he once had a better stretch in life and then somehow lost his way. That is the saddest part of the character. He does not hate kids. He hates what they force him to see about himself. That is why Buttermaker is not just a comic role. He is an adult with a past, with regret, and with a very bad way of dealing with the world, because he has never dealt with his own damage. But for that character to work on screen, the movie still needed exactly the right actor, and the man who made it work almost turned the role down for a very simple reason. Number 6. Walter Matthau almost passed on the role for a very simple reason. Before he became Morris Buttermaker, Walter Matthau looked at the Bad News Bears with a lot of hesitation. His concern was pretty simple: children. Matthau worried the movie would be too cute, too soft, too eager to make everyone happy. For an actor who had built a career playing grumpy, world-weary, difficult men, that fear made complete sense. To be fair, he was not even the studio's first choice. The role had first been considered for Steve McQueen and Warren Beatty. Both passed. That opened the door for Matthau, and the movie was lucky that it happened. What changed his mind was Bill Lancaster's script. It was not sentimental. It did not try to turn the coach into some moral hero. Buttermaker was a washed-up former ball player, drank too much, spoke badly, and entered kids' baseball like he had been sentenced to community service. Matthau understood that kind of man immediately. He did not need to polish him up. What is interesting is that many people assumed Matthau must have hated working with children, but according to many behind-the-scenes accounts, he was actually extremely kind to the young cast. That is an important difference. Buttermaker could be nasty. Matthau did not need to become the character off-camera to make the role work. Number 7. Tatum O'Neal was the biggest young star there, and still got paid less. When The Bad News Bears was made, Walter Matthau was the biggest adult star on the poster. But if you look at pure box office attention at that moment, Tatum O'Neal was the name that should have made everyone stop and pay attention. She had already won an Oscar for Paper Moon while still a child. By 1976, she was not just another young actress. She was an event. On a lot of box office lists at the time, O'Neal had already become one of the strongest names for getting audiences into theaters. In other words, this movie did not just have Matthau. It had a 12-year-old that all of Hollywood was watching closely. And yet the salary gap between them was still huge. Matthau got a very high base salary plus a percentage of the box office. O'Neal got a very good paycheck for a child actor, but it was still significantly lower than Matthau's. That says a lot about how Hollywood viewed power at the time. The adult man at the top of the poster got paid first and most. The 12-year-old girl carrying a huge part of the emotional weight of the movie still came second. And what makes that even clearer is that O'Neal did not just act well. She also made the baseball itself far more believable than many people realize. Number 8. Amanda looked like a great pitcher because Tatum O'Neal trained for months. Amanda Wurlitzer is not just the only girl on the field, or the moody kid who happens to be good. She is the most important player on the team. If the audience does not believe she can really pitch better than the other kids, then the movie loses a huge part of its power. Tatum O'Neal understood that. Director Michael Ritchie reportedly told her that Hollywood had plenty of ways to fake sports on camera. Angles, editing, stunt doubles, tricks. Movies always have a way out. But O'Neal did not want to rely on the tricks. She trained for months with a pitching coach so that when she stepped on the mound, the audience would believe her completely. And that effort shows clearly in the film. The way Amanda stands, the way she winds up, the way she releases the ball, and even the irritated look on her face after a pitch all make viewers believe she really is the best player on the team. Yes, the hardest pitches were still helped by movie technique, and in a few spots a double was used. But most of what the audience remembers about Amanda came directly from Tatum O'Neal. And that matters. Amanda is not some girl power symbol created just to make a point. She is the best player, and the movie has to make that feel true. And if Amanda is the one who pulls the team off the ground, Kelly Leak is the kid who brings in a completely different kind of energy. And he entered this movie in exactly the way you would imagine. Number 9. Jackie Earle Haley practically walked straight out of real life into Kelly Leak. One of the most famous stories from the Bad News Bears is that Jackie Earle Haley rode a motorcycle to his audition. What makes the story memorable is not just the image of a 14-year-old kid pulling up, parking a bike, taking off his helmet, and walking into a Hollywood audition like he was late to some very casual appointment. What makes it perfect is how completely it fits Kelly Leak. Kelly has to be the kind of kid adults see as trouble before they see talent. A rebellious kid, hard to control, a little reckless, and clearly not moving through life on the route adults would prefer. Jackie Earle Haley carried exactly that feeling. And when a young actor shows up with the character's energy already built into the way he enters the room, the movie almost cannot say no. In the film, Kelly Leak's motorcycle becomes part of his identity. It tells the audience everything before he even opens his mouth. He is not like the rest of the team. He does not enter the story in the normal way, and that is exactly why it matters so much when he finally starts to care about the team. Number 10. The director shot the movie like a real mess. Michael Ritchie did not make the Bad News Bears like a polished sports movie. He did not try to turn the baseball field into a place where everything looked clean, ran smoothly, and moved towards some uplifting lesson. He shot it like a noisy, hot, chaotic place full of yelling, mistakes, ego, bad adults, and a lot of ugliness. That was the key. Ritchie understood that if he filmed the games like neat, elegant sports sequences, the movie would lose its feeling of truth. Kids' baseball is not clean. The adults standing around it are not clean either. And real youth sports can be loud, mean, and unintentionally funny in ways no one likes to admit. That is why his staging matters so much. The camera catches disorder, dialogue overlaps, small mistakes stay in. All of that gives the movie life. The audience does not feel like it is watching the perfectly staged game sequence. It feels like standing near the foul line, hearing parents scream, watching kids get angry, and knowing something ugly is probably about to happen within the next few minutes. That was exactly the right directorial choice. And it is one of the main reasons the Bad News Bears feels so different from a lot of youth sports movies that came later. Number 11. "Let them play," almost did not become the movie's defining moment. The "let them play" moment is one of the most emotional parts of the Bad News Bears. It is not just a chant during a baseball game. It is the point where all the frustration, anger, and rebellion inside the Bears finally bursts into words. But there was a time when that scene was not treated as the emotional center of the movie. In early cuts, it was just one beat in the game. Then test screening reactions showed the filmmakers something else. Audiences did not just hear that chant, they reacted to it very strongly. That makes sense. Let Them Play is not only about baseball, it is about every moment adults step in and ruin what is supposed to belong to children. It is about a group of kids finally reaching the point where they cannot take it anymore. And because it does not arrive as a speech, but as a furious yell from kids who are fed up, it feels very real. If that moment had been shortened or softened to make the movie feel smoother, the Bad News Bears would have lost something essential. That scene is where the movie locks in its emotional anger. Number 12. The Bears' uniforms were deliberately made ugly. The Bears' uniforms do not look bad by accident. They were designed to look bad. It is a tiny detail, but it tells the story beautifully. In the movie, the Bears do not just play like a mess. They also look like one. Their uniforms are wrinkled, the colors are unflattering, and everything feels like it was handed out in a hurry from some old storage room no one really cared about. The moment you place the Bears next to the other teams, the effect is immediate. Their opponents look neat, uniform, and proper, exactly the way a respectable youth team is supposed to look. The Bears look like the team no one believes will win anything. That instantly tells the audience where they stand in the social order of this league. This is the team the adults already decided was not worth investing in. And that is a very smart visual choice. Because from beginning to end, the Bad News Bears never tries to create the feeling that this team is being prepared for glory. They are always the neglected, dismissed, underestimated team. The uniforms just make that visible from the first glance. Number 13. The beer drinking ending shocked people for a reason. One of the most unforgettable images in the movie is the ending, where the Bears lose the championship and still celebrate with beer. It is very hard to imagine a modern kids' sports movie or youth movie ending that way without setting off a fresh wave of outrage. Of course, the kids on screen were not actually drinking beer. The filmmakers gave them ginger ale. But the power of the scene is not in what is inside the cans, it is in the attitude. The film refuses the familiar ending of a youth sports movie. There is no magical championship. There is no tearful group hug over some noble lesson about losing beautifully. Instead, there is a team of kids who lose, stay angry, stay rebellious, and then decide to celebrate in their own way anyway. That is one of the strongest things in the film. It does not try to teach the audience that losing is noble. It shows that losing still hurts. It is still ugly. It still makes the kids mad enough to yell at each other. But it also shows that they no longer need adult approval to give themselves one moment of joy. That is why the scene is famous for more than just shock value. It is famous because it fits the spirit of the entire movie. The Bears are not written to become role models. They are written to hold on to their dignity in the most chaotic way possible. Number 14. The poster told you everything before the movie even started. The original The Bad News Bears poster was illustrated by Jack Davis, and that was exactly the right choice. Davis was one of the great names associated with Mad magazine, with a caricature style that was exaggerated, messy, and full of energy. You only have to look at the poster once to understand the film's spirit. This is not a polished sports story. It is a bunch of wide-eyed kids in wrinkled uniforms and a coach who looks like he just walked out of a bad day that has lasted for years. Amanda already looks annoyed. Buttermaker looks like he is not even pretending he should be responsible. Everything in the poster tells the truth about the movie before the audience even enters the theater. That matters because sports movie posters usually try to sell hope, determination, and triumph. The Bad News Bears does not do that. It sells chaos. And because of that, it is more honest. But if the poster gave the movie its face outside the theater, The thing that helped it live on in pop culture was something else entirely: its title. Number 15. The Bad News. Bears almost invented a whole phrase. Before this movie existed, bad news simply meant bad news, and bears simply meant bears. Put together, it was not some common phrase in everyday speech. But after 1976, that changed. The Bad News Bears stopped being only the title of a movie. It slowly became a way of describing a whole kind of group. A team that is sloppy, weak, looked down on, full of problems, but somehow still makes people want to root for it. That is something very few movies manage to do. It did not just leave behind characters or lines. It left behind a phrase that entered pop culture. Over time, people started using Bad News Bears for all kinds of situations. A terrible baseball team, a workplace group ruining a project. Any team you can tell at a glance is going to be trouble. And the interesting thing is that the phrase does not only mean pathetic, it also carries another meaning: pathetic but memorable, full of personality, and still weirdly lovable. That is exactly what the movie does so well. The Bears are not the best team. They are just the team the audience remembers most. Number 16. The Aguilar brothers were very different in real life. Jose and Miguel Aguilar are supporting characters, but they leave a strong impression. In the movie, they can barely speak English, always seem slightly disconnected from the rest of the team, and create several moments that are both funny and very real. But in real life, the two actors playing them were not kids who primarily spoke Spanish. That means they had to learn their lines for the film according to the sound and rhythm the movie needed, not simply speak in a language that came naturally to them. That detail is interesting because it shows how hard the film works to create the feeling of real life, while the reality behind the scenes was much more complicated. On screen, the Aguilar brothers represent the kind of kids who get pushed to the margins because of a language barrier, and because adults do not care enough to really understand them. Off-screen, creating that effect required a whole additional layer of work the audience never sees. Number 17. The movie was a bigger hit than people remember. After all the controversy, the backlash, and the fears that the movie would damage the image of youth baseball, the Bad News Bears still won at the box office. And not just a little. It made enough money for Hollywood to do what Hollywood always does when it smells profit: keep going. The original film earned more than $30 million in the United States. Yes, compared to Rocky in the same year, that number was much smaller. But for a movie about kids' baseball, full of controversial language and an ending that refuses to comfort the audience, it was a strong result. It was not the #1 phenomenon of the year, but it was absolutely a hit. And from there, the franchise began. There were sequels, then more sequels, then a television series, and eventually the 2005 remake with Billy Bob Thornton. Not every follow-up was loved the way the original was, but the fact that a movie like this created an entire franchise says a lot. Hollywood does not keep investing in something that does not make money. Number 18. The fact that they lose is the movie's strongest punch. This is one of the biggest reasons the Bad News Bears has lasted. The Bears do not win in the way sports movie audiences are trained to expect. Kelly Leak does not bring home the trophy. There is no last-second miracle homer that sends everyone into tears. The Bears lose. That same year, Rocky also ended with the main character not winning. But Rocky is built as a story about dignity, endurance, and rising above limits. The Bad News. Bears is different. It does not turn losing into poetry. It lets losing stay ugly, frustrating, and mean. The kids stay angry. They still yell. But then the film gives them something else: the right to decide for themselves how they will respond to that loss. That is what makes the ending so strong. It does not make the Bears champions. It lets them keep their dignity in the most chaotic way possible. And for a movie that has spent the whole running time showing adults forcing their rules onto children, that is exactly the right ending. Number 19. Michael Ritchie may have shot a completely different ending. This is the part longtime fans love talking about. According to several accounts, Michael Ritchie may have filmed two versions of the ending. One is the version we know. Kelly Leak is tagged out at home plate, the Bears lose, and that is it. The other supposedly showed the Bears actually winning. If that is true, it makes perfect sense. A lot of movies shoot a safer alternate ending so the studio has options in post-production. And for the Bad News Bears, an ending where the underdog team wins would definitely have been easier to sell. It would fit the formula better. It would leave audiences happier. It probably would have made real parents less angry too. But Michael Ritchie did not choose that road. He kept the losing ending, and that was the right decision. Still, the story does not end there, because if you look very closely at some of the footage, there is a strange detail. In one celebration moment earlier in the film, a catcher in a Yankees uniform appears behind home plate, even though, logically, that should not belong to the game against the Yankees. That tiny detail has led many people to believe that part of the footage from the Bears' win ending may have been reused elsewhere in the final cut. Number 20. A tiny on-screen mistake may have exposed the movie's biggest secret. And now we get to the detail fans have loved obsessing over for years. In one earlier celebration scene with the Bears, there is something odd if you pause the frame carefully. Behind home plate, the catcher is wearing a Yankees uniform, even though by the logic of the film, that is not supposed to be the Yankees game. It is not the kind of continuity error most viewers would ever notice casually. You have to really watch closely, maybe even watch more than once to catch it. But once you do, it changes the way you see the film. It strongly suggests that the director may indeed have shot a version where the Bears actually beat the Yankees, then later cut it out and reused part of that footage somewhere else in the movie. In other words, through one tiny continuity error involving a background player behind the plate, the film may have accidentally revealed the ghost of the ending it chose not to use. In the end, the Bad News Bears did not become a classic because this team was great at baseball. It became a classic because the movie dared to let kids act like real kids, dared to show adults with all their bitterness intact, and dared to end in a way that did not try to please anyone. It is messy, loud, and uncomfortable, but that is exactly why it feels more honest than so many other sports movies from the same era. Out of all these secrets, which detail about the Bad News Bears surprised you the most? Leave it in the comments below. And if you want me to keep digging into classic films that are both rough around the edges and packed with behind-the-scenes stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell.